Well, here we are live in San Antonio, 22 years in the making here. We are crowning another XFL champion tonight. I'm here with the Professor Andrew Murray. We got Anthony Miller here. Cavalcade of guests coming on today, both live and remote. Let me know if it sounds okay, looks okay. Internet, we're working through things. I have 3 different Wi-Fis here. We're bouncing in between. Andy, how are you doing?
I am so happy to be back, man. It's been a few weeks. I was on my worldwide tour there for a little bit, and I'm just happy to be here and just so excited. Really, it's the culmination of so much hard work and so much anticipation and waiting. And I'm just really happy to be with both of you and everyone here today for this momentous occasion.
Anthony, how's life treating you?
Yeah, it's good. This is it's unbelievable, just covering this league back in 2020, not being able to have a finished season and being able to come to a championship game. So to be at this moment, I mean, I was 8 years old when the first XFL championship happened. So to be able to experience this as an adult and be here, I mean, this is a joy of a lifetime. So I'm really excited about tonight.
Yeah, it's exciting. We've already toured the Alamo today. We have a small studio audience here. Listener Jared Fran's coming on the show in a little bit. Toured the Alamo. Andy and I were out late last night. Went to the Esquire, the oldest bar in San Antonio. We were going to chug a beer on the podcast, based on the USFL thing. I cannot drink any more Shine right now.
We'll save it for after the game.
We'll save it for after. So like I said, we have many guests coming in, calling in here throughout the show. We have a special XFL head coach calling in at the bottom of the hour, so you don't want to miss out. Head coach, and then Deontay Anderson's going to be here from the XFL Vipers, your XFL All-XFL team. Should be good stuff today. Andy, talk about. We saw a lot of shirts, a lot of people here. What's been the atmosphere here? And I'll hold the mic.
It's been pretty nice, honestly. I like that there's just been so many DC fans. That's one of the biggest things that stands out to me. Certainly, you got your Arlington faithful around. A lot of random, celebrity sightings. We've seen a couple of very key figures in the league and people related to people in the league. So, but overall, it's very quiet. The weather's held up so far. We weren't sure if it was going to be kind of like thunder and lightning storms or rain or whatever, but it's been okay so far. And the Riverwalk is beautiful. I mean, it's magnificent. I've wanted to be on this exact place for quite some time. This is really a great excuse to come out to San Antonio. But yeah, I like there's a lot of families around. It's a nice atmosphere, really.
Yeah, we were going to be outside. We were kind of worried, thunder, lightning, not quite sure. I finally got set out outside, and there's no power out there. So we have the best thing we could do. Anthony, what's the atmosphere like for you? We would spend all day walking the Riverwalk.
Yeah, I mean, I will echo what Andy said. I'm really surprised to see the amount of DC Defender fans out, and it's really great to see. Even just I've seen Battlehawks, I've seen Renegades, I've seen a lot of XFL gear, a lot more than I was kind of expecting, to be honest. So I'm really excited about to see, who's all going to come out to the game, what the tailgate's going to be like, because the atmosphere here and being able to see all the XFL fans that have come out this weekend. I mean, that's what kind of makes this really exciting, is that it's a celebration of being able to complete a season, something they haven't done since 2001. So I think that's a really cool thing to be a part of. And I'm really excited to kind of have everyone here, kind of like a big family reunion, and celebrate the season we had.
It's exciting. I see we have our first guest here standing by. He'll give me a thumbs up when he's ready to hop on. And it's exciting. So let's bring in our first guest today. We have Ric Seritella here. Ric, hopefully we're looking, sounding good. How the hell's it going for you?
Hopefully we're looking good, sounding good. I've been ready for this day. Buckle up, fellas. How are we doing?
It's exciting. What do you make of this? 22 years in the making. We have another XFL champion.
I'm so excited that I caught the tail end of the conversation. To me, the true champion is the XFL, regardless of who wins tonight, because we got through another spring season. And what we're witnessing is the longest pro football season that we've ever endured. And I love it. And we still got another 5 weeks left of the USFL. So how about that? There is no off season. Pro football is here. The ratings are here. The attendance in some locations has been good. But I do got to say, The Rock and Danny Garcia get a lot of credit. How about Doug Whaley? How about Russ Brandon? How about David Dykman? Those guys that prepared 18 months in advance for all of this. And, man, it's easier said than done, so buckle up.
What do you guys think about attendance today? We've kind of gone back and forth about that.
Yeah, I'm really curious. I mean, for San Antonio, the threshold they had this season in the regular season was 24,000, I think, that opening game. So you're hoping I guess, to see if they surpass that number, if they're able to approach that or surpass it. Like I said, I mean, we've seen a lot of jerseys, a lot of people wearing a lot of paraphernalia. We're walking around town. So it's very possible. I mean, San Antonio is supposed to be one of the standout markets in this league. And you would expect there to be the same rapturous support around it as well. Obviously, the DC faithful have pulled their weight. St. Louis has pulled their weight. San Antonio is kind of that next one you're waiting for. It was sort of a team that represents so much from not only the league, but also The Rock and his image with the Brahmas and everything, and also just the city in general. It'll be interesting to see if they can really get behind it today.
Anthony, are you surprised not more Arlington fans here?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's a 4.5 hour drive from Dallas to San Antonio, so I would have expected to see more Renegades gear, but I'm fully expecting them to still be traveling. So it may be they're traveling throughout the day. I think by tonight we may see a good blend of DC Defenders and Arlington Renegade fans. So I think there's still time for them to come out. I know, being a part of those Facebook groups with the Arlington Renegades, there's a lot of fans that have been talking about, all right, we're on our way, we're driving. So I think they will still travel well. It just may be DC Defender fans, they have to travel a longer distance, so they probably got here early yesterday so that they can kind of recoup and be ready for tonight, where Renegade fans, they can just travel 3-4, it's a one-day drive to San Antonio, so that's what I'm kind of expecting.
Rick, we saw Luis Perez's family wandering the Riverwalk today looking for reservations where to eat. What are you looking forward to seeing from him? Are you surprised that these are the two quarterbacks we ended up in the end? Both original XFL 2020, obviously Tiamu now with the Defenders, and then Luis with the Renegades. What are you looking forward to seeing from Perez?
I love seeing Luis Perez here. What a great story that he continues his journey. He continues his path. And I've had a chance to chop it up and talk with Luis out in San Diego and get to know him and get to kind of understand his journey. And credit to Bob Stoops for recognizing Luis Perez was essentially the Renegade savior and getting them to the championship, because this man brings the experience, right? The alternate league experience. He's been here. He knows what to expect. We can talk about predictions and whether or not he has enough horses to take him across the finish line. But man, Luis Perez, I mean, what an outstanding, and the way he came in, he sat for a week or two, bided his time, didn't come in with an ego and said, bro, like, I'm the best man here, I should be playing. He kind of led by example, and I respect that.
Andy, what do you make of that? We've talked. We haven't gotten quite your take on this. I want to get Rick as well. The whole playoff debacle, Renegades being here. You haven't been on the show. You've been traveling. What do you make of all this?
Look, they made the most of their opportunity. I know the fact that they were 4-6 seems like an abomination, but look, I saw that team in person against San Antonio back when they didn't have Luis Perez, and it was evident to me that at least half their team was fully complete. They have a great defense. They have fantastic special teams. They have a good coaching staff. They just didn't have the quarterback. And it was abundantly clear that Drew Plitt and Kyle Slater just were not going to get it done. So for me, I mean, yes, the 4-6 doesn't look great. And as far as pedigree and getting a team like that in there, but make no mistake, this team deserves to be here. And especially with how Luis Perez is. I mean, his ability to just survive all of these situations. I've said it 100 times on the show. He's a zombie. The guy just does not go away. He never will go away. He is immortal in the spring football verse.
Rick, same question to you, and then we'll go to Anthony.
I think there was mass disappointment, and I hope it reverberated up into the league office, because I do think they need to get the best teams into the tournament. And when you're dealing with only 8 teams, like, I would love to see the regular season essentially be, I mean, put them all in. Let the regular season be essentially a round robin tournament for seeding for the postseason. But I say put them all in, let the regular season be a round robin, and then that way there's no dispute.
Anthony, you've spent many a night watching the Renegades play from the press box. So what do you make of this season for them?
I mean, overall, it's been a roller coaster ride. I mean, you look at this defense, they've been phenomenal all season, despite all the injuries that this defense has had to deal with Edmund Robinson being out, Donald Payne to Josh Hawkins. Like, they've lost a lot of guys on the defensive side, but the thing they've done a great job of is having depth at positions. Like Darnell Sankey ended up being a great signing for them earlier in the season. They brought in guys to really step up and be X factors on that defense. So that's been the impressive part. Obviously, the offense, we all know, have really struggled in the passing game, converting on short yards, dumb penalties, turnovers, but they've been able to clean up, like the guys have been saying. I mean, Luis Perez is that guy. The one thing Coach Stoops speaks very highly of him about is his IQ. He's one of the smartest quarterbacks in this league, is because he's been able to adjust to multiple different systems and been able to play at a high level doing it. So, I mean, I understand everyone's got their concerns about him with the playoffs. I kind of had my feelings on it as well, but I'm going to echo what Coach Stoops been saying to us, to the media, for the last few weeks. If the league doesn't like it, they can change the rules. Otherwise, we did what we needed to do to get in the playoffs. We did what we needed to make the championship game. So at the end of the day, Arlington has nothing to apologize for. They took care of business. They played their best game of the season in the playoffs. So you got to give them credit there.
Rick, what do you make of this? The Kyle Sloter, Drew Plitt. I mean, I feel like Sloter. There was the big. We're jumping from the USFL. We're going in big splash, and they just never seemed to materialize. What do you make of that?
Well, I think going back to my previous point, it might be good to put all these teams in the dance because, as you guys saw, it's an ever evolving process, and it's not like we have a 17-game schedule to vet all this out. And so by time week 6 rolls around, sometimes the identity of a team is just coming into place. And I think what you're seeing too is like these quarterbacks are not protected like the NFL. There's not laundry littered all over the field with every single big hit. And, protection is an issue with every team. There's not enough good offensive linemen. These quarterbacks are taking big hits. Backup quarterback has become very valuable. And I don't know, maybe you guys do. Is there a starting quarterback that got through the season unscathed, that took every snap? I don't think so.
I think DiNucci was closest, right? I think Montez threw one incomplete pass, right, for the Sea Dragons.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Flip side, DC, Andy, what's impressed you? With DC here coming down the stretch, I mean, just kick the snot out of the Sea Dragons in the playoffs.
They certainly did. And look, Von Hutchins has done a tremendous job putting this roster together. Reggie Barlow has been a superstar. This whole team has just had all the answers the entire season. It's hilarious to me that their only loss came to the Guardians, and the Guardians' only win came against them. So at least there's a sense of parity there. But, look, this DC team has just been outstanding from the jump. Their offense has been able to morph into multiple different ways of attacking people. Their running attack was great, and then all of a sudden Jordan Ta'amu just had a renaissance in the second half of the season. Their defense is very opportunistic. They get the turnovers that they need. They get the plays that they need. Greg Williams is, playing, coaching with his hair on fire most of the time. He's a mad genius. He gets people into situations they don't like, those being the quarterbacks on the other team. And look, overall, it's a tremendous job all around. This has been a fantastic campaign for DC, and they would love nothing more than to stomp their foot on the ground and say we are one of the best teams in spring football history tonight.
Yeah, Rick, how dominant has DC been this season with Von Hutchins and everyone else over there?
Well, yeah, I'll get to Von. You mentioned Greg Williams, who I think was playing with a heavy heart the other week. How about that? And don't tell me it doesn't mean something to these guys. Listen, I think that we talked about it right in the preseason show. Like DC defenders, they're built for the track meet. They got nothing but speed, and they loaded up on speed at the wide receiver position. So I think they have the weapons here to take it the distance. Abram Smith, by the way, like how is this guy not on? I can't figure it out. Like coming out of Baylor, this guy was a beast. I love me a linebacker converted running back, guys. I don't know. There's a lot of yak there. And, I mean, he plays like a man amongst the boys. I see guys like David Montgomery and Jamal Williams getting $6 million per year. You're telling me that Abram Smith is not in the same caliber of runner? Hello.
Max wants to know our thoughts on the Pivot podcast. I have not watched The Rock's appearance on there yet. Andy and I were drinking at the Esquire last night. Have you seen did you watch the Pivot podcast with The Rock?
I listened to it this morning on the way.
How was it?
I thought it was solid. So, a lot of it was talked about The Rock was talking about his battles with depression and kind of being able to, deal with, his story of, coming home from Calgary with only $7 in his pocket and having to get into wrestling. So I think it was really cool to kind of see the personal side of him. And I know he's kind of talked about that story a little bit, but and trying to figure his life out, that was something that was really interesting to me, to kind of see more of a human element out of The Rock. I kind of liked hearing that part of it. He talked a little bit about the XFL at the end, but I think just hearing his personal side of it, I think a lot of players can, Ryan Clark talked about it, Fran Taylor talked about it, Shannon talked about it, that they all kind of went through similar situations in their lives through their football career. So that's the one part that I thought was really cool, and I hope those are the type of stories that he can tell, as well as players in the XFL can too.
Rick, what do you make of The Rock? And I deal a lot with the CFL people too. I was just on Rod Peterson's show yesterday, kind of previewing the championship game. Has The Rock done enough? Too much? Not like what do you make of him and kind of being, I know it's Danny's baby, but him in terms of trying to use his, his obviously his massive audience.
I think some valid points were made there, because the reason why we love this great game of football is because it applies and carries over to the great game of life. And Rock is speaking to how football can mold not only life, but these football journeys, and to learn some of these stories. And what was it, 57 guys, right, is wearing that number 54 now, going to training camp. And that's what it's all about. And personally, I think I would have liked to see some more pizzazz. Like, I've seen what Hard Knocks is capable of doing. Last time I checked, The Rock is the highest gross earning actor in Hollywood. I would hope that you could have some connections or pockets to bring in the same caliber. Now, I saw some of the behind the scenes and documentary and stuff leading up to it. The standard should be a little bit higher, in my opinion. And I think they need to vet out some of these markets a little bit better and do their due diligence there as well.
Anthony, it's too hard to do the double.
There's two A's.
Yeah. Andy, any feedback on that?
Yeah, no, that's very interesting you say that. And I think it depends on how many connections this league wants to have, right? We already saw someone like Destroying getting involved, YouTube personalities. I think what you're referring to, though, Rick, is probably a little deeper than that. Some really established, stars. I don't know if you can get someone like Vin Diesel to just sort of walk out onto the field, but it'll be interesting to see if you can get, the Fast and Furious crew and all that. But I agree. I think this can go deeper, and there can be more connections here that this league can tap into. That goes on Danny's side as well. Russ Brandon, all of them, everybody. I think there's just more characters and more people that can be involved here. Perhaps they were just being very tepid this season in terms of how many cooks they wanted to have in the kitchen, I suppose. But
if there's one criticism, not to cut you off, Andy, if there's one criticism that I have for the new version, and this goes back to the last season too, from the original version, I like the individuality. I like the he hate me. I like the extra over the top entertainment element, because I thought that kind of separated itself from my Sunday game day. And to me, I wish they brought more. I know they're trying to take this more serious approach, but I actually want to see more of that entertainment value back.
I completely agree with that. And I've said, and it really stark when the USFL now, they're broadcasting, and it feels like Fox NFL, exactly the same. It feels that way. I do think the XFL carries itself just a tad bit too seriously, especially with the legacy. And we all know, and Vince, and even back to 01, I think that they could inject a little bit more humor sometimes. But if it means we're playing this safe, we want this to be around. Anthony, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I agree with Rick and with you, Reed. I think that you got to have a balance of it. I think what happened in 2001 is that they were too gimmicky, and they kind of went a little too far. Like when they were talking about, going into the cheerleaders' locker room and having that whole sequence. It was funny, ha ha ha, but a lot of people didn't like, the sexualization of it, because it got a little too far with it. I think I love the He Hate Me. I love being able to, whatever name you want to put in the back, do that and really build those characters, because those are the characters that you want to put on the Player 54 documentary, because those you want to hear the story of. I mean, someone like Rod Smart, talking about why he picked He Hate Me and learning his background, that would have been an awesome feature to have on Player 54 if it was there back in 2001. So you kind of want these football players to kind of create their own characters, even the coaches as well being creative, because that will make the storytelling a lot easier, because that's something The Rock talked about yesterday. He loves talking about the storytelling part of it. So if you want to add that element, let the players be themselves, let the coaches be themselves.
Andy, what do you got?
Yeah, just to bounce off of that too, just a quick mention. I think ESPN would like that too. Obviously, ESPN really tries to build up these characters and these profiles a lot. All of them are clearly invested. The broadcasters put a lot of energy into that product, into that presentation. They want that too. So I absolutely agree with you and everyone here. They need to be able to inject more personality, not like, again, being too gimmicky. You don't want to be a cartoon, but you do want to have entertainment value. I mean, again, I'll say this about the NFL, for example. The NFL is an entertainment product. It's not always about the football. In fact, it's probably becoming less about the football as time goes on, but that's because they're trying to entertain a mass audience. And I think that's what the XFL has to consider as well going forward.
Rick, we got our next guest standing by. Then keep in mind, we have our head coach calling in at the bottom of the hour. Anything else from you, Rick, before I let you go? I appreciate you hopping on.
Well, I just want to give a big shout out to, again, Von Hutchins, Reggie Barlow, Bob Stoops for the wonderful job that they've done with the roster construction and highlighting these guys. And, listen, I've got my guy Karan Reed out of Princeton coming up with a big fumble recovery today. I got a 38-24. I just think the DC defenders are too much. I do think there's going to be some fireworks. I think Luis Perez will keep it close, into the second half. But I think the DC defenders are just going to be too fast, too much, too furious for the Renegades. And so I've got DC defenders bringing home the confetti. And thank you guys for the wonderful job that you've done on the Markcast, the best alternate football show on the planet. Make sure you get that out there.
Appreciate it, Rick. Thanks so much for spending your time. I know you're a busy guy, so it means a lot.
All right, absolutely. Hit that like, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Awesome. All right, now we're going to bring in a friend of the show here over with the Sam Shady Sports Network. Sam, how the hell are you doing?
Doing great. Super excited for the game. How are you guys doing today?
We're good. Are you feverish online? I mean, there's a little energy building here. What's it like for you kind of seeing it online here from the far side?
I think it's still surreal to me. I mean, like it's been such a long time coming. We've talked about it so much that it almost felt like we would never get to this point the way 2020 ended. And yet here we are about to watch the XFL Championship Game. And it's still almost surreal to me.
What's your prediction here, just to make sure we get it on the record before we go into anything else?
Well, I would be foolish not to pick DC against Arlington here, but I do think that Arlington does have a path to victory. I did read Anthony's recent article. I do think there are some reasons why you might want to pick Renegades, but I definitely think the DC's offense just has too much firepower.
Anthony, you had your preview article, and then we'll get Andy's side. How big of an upset would it be if the Renegades won this today?
I don't know if it's as big of an upset now as it would have been before Luis Perez, because this team has mightily improved over the last 4 weeks. I mean, their offense literally has gained 110 yards per game more than they had with Drew Plitt and Kyle Sloter. So I think the offense is getting better. The two things the Renegades have to do is they have to cut down on the mistakes when it comes down to turnover penalties, and also convert on short yards. That's something they have struggled with, but they did a better job of against Houston in the playoff game. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. This is one of the best defenses in the league. It's just, the playmakers on offense have to step up, and they have to have an even keel mind going into the game and not let anything affect them in terms of penalties and unsportsmanlike conduct and turnovers.
Andy, same question to you.
Yeah, again, it's being able to limit turnovers, which is not easy to do against DC. Obviously, even playing in DC is the bigger case here. That's the thing. We really are going to see how much of a home field advantage that DC is going to be able to bring to this game, right? I mean, going into Audi Field is just a death sentence for people. Luis Perez absolutely cannot make a crippling interception. He cannot do it. It will kill his team's chances today if he does that. He's done. And look, as wonderful as he was against Houston, he's had the propensity to throw picks sometimes. He's done it his entire career. Can you get back-to-back performances like that from him? That's the question. He's always been able to have one and then kind of have an off game the next time. That's really a big thing. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Arlington defense. I know that sounds strange to look forward to a defense, but I really have been so impressed with them. Deontay Bosby, that entire unit has been just so good. And I think they're going to find a way to stump DC in the first half, at least. I think they're going to limit them a lot. I think I would not be surprised if Arlington led at halftime.
Sam, how much credit do you give to Bob Stoops and making these moves late in the season, and we're doing the Luis thing, everything else, never giving up, keeping his guys motivated the whole time?
Oh, it's 100%. This is coaching that got them there. I mean, we've all talked about this offense all season long, but he still hung in there, continued to try and progress and make moves, like you said, and make improvements. And that's the reason why they're here. I mean, ultimately, Luis Perez was the difference in that game last week. And if he's not here, I don't know that we see Arlington in the championship game this week, right? To be quite honest.
You spend a lot of time talking with Mr. Bob Stoops, Coach Stoops. Anthony, what do you make of this?
Yeah, I think Stoops does deserve a lot of credit, but I think him in the front office deserve a lot of credit too. You think about the moves they made earlier in the season when it comes down to bringing left tackle Willie Beavers in. He didn't really have an impact until later in the season, but he's been phenomenal at left tackle for this offensive line over the last few weeks. You talk about Darnell Sankey coming into that linebacker position, especially when Donald Payne got hurt. He was the guy that stepped up and was able to make plays for them. Javonte Payton, trading him earlier in the season from I think he was on the Guardians, trading him. He ended up being the biggest playmaker in that playoff game, getting 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think just credits Stoops and the front office for being able to bring in players later in the season to be able to make an impact. And I can't forget Letty Brown. He's been a great number 2 guy for Devion Smith in that running game. So just bringing those type of players in and having them make significant impacts, as well as Luis Perez, obviously, that's why the Renegades are in the championship game, because of not what they did in training camp. It's what they've done since to bring the right players in, build the right culture, and now they may be on their way to a championship tonight.
Andy, because it's like we saw this a little bit last year with the USFL, like, all right, I'm done. Like, I'm out. Some of these coaches, I mean, I like seeing these moves. It shows people are, invested. What do you make of Stoops and everything else?
He's weathered the storm. I had my doubts as well. I mean, we all watched the offense the first half of the season. It was atrocious. And we openly debated, should there be a change at the coordinator position? They're going to have to start moving their coaching staff around, and they held fast. They stuck with it, and they worked with their program. For Stoops, I mean, it's just so fascinating to kind of see him back again in this role, be able to have success despite the on-field product not always being the best and the sexiest to watch. I've seen him also tearing his hair out at various times. Anthony can attest to that as well. But, for him to be able to keep with this and really sort of have his foundation be so strong in a non-college setting is really impressive. It speaks to his acumen, and it speaks to his experience as a professional being able to do this. He obviously was the right man to bring back into Arlington, and it'd be really interesting to see if he can get his second second championship, I should say. He had one in college. Can he get another one?
Sam, before, we got to make sure we get all this in before we have our special head coach call in. Thoughts on the XFL season as a whole? I asked Matt Berry last week on the show, grade at 1 to 10. What do you make of the XFL's performance?
That's a great question. I'd probably put it like an 8.5 to a 9. I'm always an eternal optimist, so I'm going to give it a little bit higher grade than maybe some people will. But at the same time, I think there's still a little bit of room for improvement. I think everybody within the XFL would say there's still room for improvement. And I think, honestly, that we're going to see them to continue to make steps to make this a bigger and better league going forward.
Andy, what do you let's go to Anthony first. Grade, 1 to 10. What would you grade?
Yeah, so I may be a little bit tougher than Sam's going to be. I'm going to give it a 7.5. I think there were some really good things. I think the on-field product was really good. Player 54 documentary was good. I think, stadium experiences for the fans were good. I think the things they need to work on is, number one, marketing. I really hope they put more budgeting into the marketing, because I think that will lead to higher attendance, more viewership. I want them to be able to they need to get more eyes on it. They need to do more marketing. I want to see more commercials. I want them to be on ABC more often. I want them to get off of FX and ESPN2 and only be on ABC and ESPN, and maybe even bring in CBS, bring in another major broadcaster and do the same thing the USFL is doing. The USFL is on national television 3 times a week. I mean, that's why they've been doing the numbers they have been doing. If the XFL is able to do that with ABC and another broadcaster, I think that would make a significant difference. So I think they've done well, and I don't think I'm not trying to give them a bad grade. I think there's stuff they need to work on, but they're on the right path.
Andy, I'll get your response here in a minute. We have our special guest standing by here. We're going to bring him in a second. Sam, anything else from you before we let you go? I appreciate you stopping by.
All I'm going to say is that if Arlington can create a couple turnovers, this might quickly turn into a win by them.
That's good. Check out Sam over on YouTube, Sam Shady Sports, doing the Lord's work over there as well. Appreciate it, Sam. Thanks so much. Here we go. Special guest calling in, the only man to beat the DC Defenders all season. We have Coach Terrell Buckley. How are you doing here, sir?
I'm doing awesome. How you guys doing?
We're good. I appreciate you're live on. You were on the show a few weeks ago, but now you're live for the XFL pregame. How is life going for you right now?
It's going pretty well. I'm actually on vacation. I'm in the Cayman Islands right now. We'll check the game out a little later. But never far from the XFL mindset. I was in Arlington a couple of days ago visiting, just hanging out a little bit. So just getting ready.
How'd I do? Do good here? Get Coach Buck calling on the podcast? What do you think?
You did pretty well, Reed. I'll give you credit. Good job.
Let's get Andy a question for Coach Buckley. What do you got?
Coach Buckley, wonderful to have you here. Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. So you have the unique distinction of being the only coach that has found a way to defeat this DC team this season. I wanted to ask you about what was it like kind of preparing for them, knowing this team has such multiple phases on offense. Obviously, they were more of a running team in the first half of the year, and then when you faced them, they were sort of in the middle of their renaissance, throwing the ball down the field, and just were so difficult to prepare for. What was that like preparing for that kind of offense?
It was very scary because they was winning because of the run game. I know the passing game and the big throws and the big plays get everybody excited. But the bread and butter of what they do offensively is running the ball. And we had to prepare, obviously, for that too, even though what you just said, they was throwing the ball all over the field. So it was a stressful week preparing for them, and thankfully we got it done.
Anthony, what do you got for Coach?
Yeah, Coach, appreciate you coming on the show. My one question is, obviously, I'm very jealous of you being on vacation right now, but once you get back to being on vacation, what's the plan for you in preparation for the 2024 season? What's your process in getting ready to get the team up and running?
Well, before I went on vacation, I've been doing a little season recap of where do we start, what happened, why did we get off to a bad start. Been doing all the house cleaning stuff, and now starting to, okay, we've hit that point. I understand what was the issues, a majority of it, and now we're in the process of correcting that.
Did you how much fun was the season for you and being able to kind of participate in all this?
Oh man, just being a part of the XFL. You take the record out. Let's get that first. You take our overall record out, which was very disappointing. The other things, being a part of, getting a chance to hang with the other head coaches, the XFL, the opportunities, these players that hadn't played in a couple of years, getting them back in the football groove. For me, being a first-time head coach, making those adjustments and trying to grow and seeing where I fit. You talking about, we say being light on your feet. I would say light on your toes the whole season and exciting at the same time.
From a football fan, what are you looking forward to seeing today?
What I've been seeing all year, it's going to be a great football game, great minds matching up against each other, and strategy. Who's going to make the least amount of mistakes? And over this year, that's been D.C. And I would say they should pull this game out because they've made the least amount of mistakes the entire season.
Andy, back to you. Another question for Coach.
So obviously, thrilling victory that you had over them earlier in the season, but what's something that you're expecting from DC in this game? As far as, do you think it's going to be a completely different style of team, or what are you expecting to see from their side?
Well, they have the unique ability offensively to throw it or run it, depending on how the game flow is going. Defensively, you're not going to see a whole lot different. They're going to play their two shell. They're going to fire zone them and try to create havoc with a 4-man rush, then a 5-man rush, and make plays in the back end.
Anthony, for you, do you have another question for Coach?
Yeah, Coach, we've already seen a few of your players already getting mini camp visits, with Quentin Dormany and Charleston Rambo. How does it feel as a coach knowing that you've been able to, despite the season you had, you're getting a lot of players that are already getting interest from the NFL? How does it feel to see those guys getting their shots?
That's what this league is about, and myself. No matter what all circumstances are as a league and the coaches, the bottom line is X stands for the opportunity, and that's what's happening. The young men are getting the opportunity to reach their dreams or make their dreams become reality. And I'm so thrilled and happy for all the guys, especially off in the league and off the Orlando Guardians. I want to say we have 5 now that have been invited.
Would that be the biggest accomplishment to you, to see some of these guys make it onto rosters and stick?
Absolutely. Besides winning the XFL Championship, the next thing right there is giving them opportunity to reach their dreams, and then they cashing in on it.
In terms of the season as a whole, obviously not on the field, but just your experience, better than expectations, worse than expectations?
Better. The hub was awesome. How the management set it up was first class. The rules, the implementation of the rules, the coverage, the fan experience was better than I could imagine.
Andy, another question for Coach?
Yeah, as far as your players moving on and potentially having greater opportunities at the next level, are you hoping for, or maybe anticipating any of them being with your old coach, obviously Coach Belichick up there in New England? Could you foresee that happening?
Yes, I mean we have some guys that can get it done. Obviously, it'll be up to Coach Belichick, but just give guys opportunity to see what happens.
Who on your team impressed you the most coming out of the season?
Oh man, there's a couple guys that impressed me. Rambo, obviously, the number 1 pick, really improved throughout the whole season. Devin Dorrington, running back that came on and he hurt his hamstring early in the year, and he just came back and he was ready to go. Quentin came through after all the stuff and did a great job. Cody Lattimore, D. Lyman, Patton, C. Patton. So we had a few guys that did a great job. 2 of those made all XFL team, and that's what you want.
Yeah, did you like that? Did you like the All-XFL and them doing the awards and kind of how the league decided to handle all that?
Absolutely. I mean, you work, you put in the work, you have all these stats, you see all this stuff, and then you need something at the end to say, okay, here are the guys that did it the right way, and we want to reward them.
Anthony, for you, a question for Coach?
Yeah, Coach, is there, reflecting on this past season, is there anything that you would change that you're going to do moving forward to season 2? Maybe just some things you learned from season 1 and trying to reflect on that for next season?
Absolutely. I always say every year is a learning experience. I think the really understanding what the league is about, how to win, what the rules implemented, and then your competition. I think that changes who you competing up against, right? From the draft. I mean, you can have the best coaches, you can have the best schemes and all that, but if you don't have the players to get it done, then it doesn't matter. So yes, there are several things, starting with identifying evaluations and making sure they fit into our system.
We have a question here for you, Coach, from listener Denzel. Have you started recruiting for next season? He wants to know.
Yes, we have. recruiting is we're looking and putting down names, but it won't kick in. We really won't start until next month with camps and getting this thing rolling. So just be on the lookout for everybody's interested in the XFL. We're starting our camps next month, and that's going to run throughout the year. I know last year it was on XFL.com. I'm pretty sure that the schedule and the address will come out pretty soon. What are those dates?
How excited do you just kind of have a second crack at this now? Because obviously everyone comes in, it's chaos, and we're trying to do all of this. You know, being able to kind of now, okay, we've learned from season 1. How excited are you to kind of get to run this back now?
Man, I wish we could start in a month. That's how excited I'm. When you know what to expect, you know how to do it, you admit your mistakes, and you start to grow and correct those mistakes. You can't help but to get excited about it. That's how I feel.
You got a couple more for you here, and then we'll let you go. I appreciate you taking the time on vacation. We have our next guest standing by. Andy, another question for Coach?
Was there anybody that you were most impressed by during the season who improved the most during the season? Somebody who really was able to get past some adversity?
Oh, man. We had several guys. I just Devin Dorrington, to me, improved the most because how he started off. I think that's his story of having a hamstring. We had to put him on IR for a couple of weeks, and then he stepped in, and within 2 weeks he was our starting tailback. I think that's a story that a storyline or a situation I'm very, very pleased and excited about.
Well, I think Devonton got a tryout too with the Commanders, which is my, listener. We got listener Seth and my Washington Commanders here, left hand up. So exciting times for him. I've seen a couple of the XFL guys go up to Washington for tryouts.
Yes, they know when you can eval right and you see some talent, you see some guys that can help you. Why not bring them in?
Max has a question here. Then we'll go to Anthony one more time. We'll let you get out of here. Have they explained what the process is for player retention? Is the draft calendar similar to last year?
The draft calendar is going to be similar to last year. And yes, we have discussed how we can protect some of the players. But the final decision, they're going over there right now. We have to get through this championship game. And then we're all going to get together soon after that and make a decision.
Anthony, any last questions for Coach?
Yeah, Coach, we talk a lot about the players, but I'm interested to get your thoughts on the coaching staff and who's a guy that really stood out to you. I mean, someone that I've seen is Shane Matthews really did a great job with the play calling throughout the season. Is there anyone on your coaching staff that really stands out similar to the players?
Yeah, Shane did an excellent job for us. You hit it from taking over the play calling duties. Really helped us and got us going in the right direction. Also, Mark Snyder, we lost our defensive line coach that went to Sam Houston State during the season. So Mark Snyder defensively had to kind of do double duty. And Ronnie Lee kind of had to do double duty also, taking over, doing a lot on special teams and helping out with the linebackers. So it was impressive for those guys to step up when we needed them.
Anything else from you? I so appreciate it. Like I said, having you on a couple weeks ago and taking the time, can't express enough. And obviously the listeners and everyone you coming on. Any other messages, words for the people watching?
I would just say, Orlando Guardians fans, stand guard. And our new motto this year is going to be the Guardian Way, because we have identified what our issues were and we will improve. And I'm excited about next season. And I feel like we're going to be here talking about us in the playoff, making that playoff run.
Well, I appreciate it. You're a friend of the show now. It means a lot. So thank you very much. Go enjoy your vacation and take care.
Thank you, guys. Check the game out tonight.
It's going to be good. All right. Well, there you go. Coach Buckley, how was that? Did we do all right? What do you think, Andy?
Oh, that was fantastic. Great poll by you. Honestly, that was really great to hear him talk about not only the players that improved the most, the ones that obviously impressed him the most, and just kind of his overall process. See, I know, obviously he wants more winning. Who doesn't? But he obviously has had a tremendous impact on his players, and also has been impacted by the league quite a bit. He seems really just, it was a joy to really talk to him about his whole process.
Well, I'm kind of all in on the Guardians. I said before, if the Guardians could play on the field like their comms people, their social people work behind the scenes. Andy over there, tremendous job. Didn't hesitate at all when I reached out. Anthony, what did you make of Coach Buck coming up?
Yeah, I think Coach Buck is exactly the type of person that the XFL wants. This is a guy that he's getting an opportunity to coach for the first time, and he's got some growing pains, he's got some development, but the type of character he is. You saw in the Player 54 how emotional he was when he got that first win, even when he was going through that losing streak, the emotions that he was running through. So those are the type of stories and the type of people that you want to have showcase your league. That's a guy that really improved his team throughout the season, and I think next season the Guardians will be better off because he got that 1 year under his belt. Now they can improve upon it.
Perfect. So we're going to bring in our next guest. So here's the plan. So you guys go rock, paper, scissors. I believe Deontay Anderson's walking around here. So we might want to try to get him on early. If you guys could go track him down and maybe rock, paper, scissors, who wants to come back on and ask questions with him. Does that sound good? Awesome. We'll bring in Fran here. Thank you guys. We'll get them out of here. Thank you guys for checking out the show. We're going to bring in Fran, and we'll see if we can get Deontay out of here. I know Matthew's standing by as well, but we'll try to move people around. I appreciate everyone's patience. We have Fran here. We don't need the headphones. You're good. We have Fran from Our Sports Central, Paul Reese, historian, everything else. Fran, how are you doing?
Doing great today. I've been waiting 22 long years for this XFL Championship game to cover. 22 long years.
Fran, we were at the Alamo today. We saw the tour. What have you made of the sights and sounds? You were here for Media Day as well. What do you make of San Antonio so far?
San Antonio is an awesome city. It's the type of city where you can get the vacation experience. I've had the media experience and the fan experience.
You participated in the Media Day. What impressed you the most from the people you were able to talk to?
Well, Bruce Brandon, it was nice to talk to him briefly. Some of the players, they're all wearing the Under Armour uniforms. The award ceremonies with the Offensive Player of the Year with Jordan Tamu, and also Coach of the Year with Reggie Barlow. It was fun. Then we even had the military dogs that were going to be representing halftime. That was a fun experience, seeing these dogs be honored with 5 military veterans as well.
In terms of, Russ, like you said, you talked with him. We interviewed him back at the Arlington press conference over the summer. What do you make of him and the job he's done from a football ops perspective?
I think he's done a good job. It's been a slow and steady approach. It seems like they want to build long term. They're doing very slow. It's like they're sticking their pinkies in the water, and they're taking their time they want to build a sustainable product.
In terms of, you've obviously covered all 3 versions. Is this better than expectations, worse than expectations? What do you make of this year, all said and done?
I think it fits expectations. Some people are comparing too much to 2020, but it's a different world. It was before COVID. Inflation, it's a different world. And plus the fact some people are still skeptical about the league last, and they don't want to invest in something that's going to fold and throw money and then be giving the merchandise away on eBay.
Reggie Barlow, right? Obviously, Coach of the Year, tremendous job. What has impressed you the most with him through all of this?
His professionalism and the fact that he lets his assistant coaches coach. He doesn't. I mean, he doesn't lean on them for advice. He lets them, coach and run the team. Other coaches kind of manipulate them. The defenders didn't make any coaching changes during the offseason, unlike some of the during the regular season, unlike some of the other teams that did that.
What do you make of the game today? We've talked in here in the potential upsets with the Renegades, everything else. What do you make of the matchup?
I think it's a game for the DC defenders to win. They have a high power offense. And the thing is, if they get out to a big lead, as we've seen with them, they're going to milk the clock. With the XFL timing rules, Abrams just runs the ball, the time runs off the clock, and they get a chance to get out to a lead and hold on to it. And the thing is, I don't feel if they get that Arlington can match them score for score. I mean, they may have hit lightning in a bottle last week against the Houston Roughnecks.
We got a question here, and we've had this a lot. W. Jones wants to know, do you think the XFL Championship needs a name? The trophy, I mean, we're just calling it the XFL Championship. What do you think the XFL trophy should be called?
XFL Championship Trophy. It's better than the $1 million game that it was in 2001. And I like this trophy a little bit better. It symbolizes what the league is standing for.
The episode last week, our preview episode, I called it the big game at the end of the season because that was originally what the XFL 01. That's what their game was going to. It wasn't the $1 million game. I think until week 3 or 4 they kind of rebranded it. What was it like covering XFL 01? I mean, it feels like it's got to feel like a generation ago.
It was so much fun. I used the TV to get quotes, for my columns. It was my first article I wrote for Our Sports Central. That's Paul Reese is one of my best friends. He's been. We talk all the time. Every time after the XFL games, we're on the phone doing Monday morning quarterback, breaking down the games, and he always gives me good advice how to steer my columns.
Do you have a score prediction today?
26-14, the DC Defenders.
Low score in the fair.
Yeah, I see it's gonna be. I see it's gonna be in a low scoring range. I'm not sold on Arlington's offense.
What do you think attendance is going to look like?
I say around the 20,000 range.
20,000. Would that be more or less in your expectations of what you think the league's looking for?
My expectations, especially when the fact that media day, Russ Brandon was biggest concern was all these crazy rains that were going to get the casual fan to not show up. That's what they were worried about the most.
They talked. They posted no beer snakes allowed, no beer snakes in the Alamo Dome. What do you think the people in the Alamo Dome are going to do potentially with the no beer snakes?
Well, they may try something, but it's going to get cut off by security.
I see. We got Kyle standing by. Kyle, we'll bring you in a few minutes. I appreciate it. We're shifting around guests here. Fran, anything else from you? It's exciting. The media day, Alamo tour, everything else. What do you make of everything?
It's been an awesome experience just being down here. Just the fact that we're getting through a season. In 2020, I covered it. I was down in Arlington covering the Dallas Renegades against the New York Guardians. The week before COVID hit, shut the world down. So I got all my vacationing out for several years.
How impressed are you with Danny Garcia, DJ, everybody else, Redbird, for everything that they put together this year?
I'm impressed with what they've done. I kind of feel that I wish they were a little bit more involved in getting the brand out there, getting the exposure. Because the thing is, you have these people with big name credibility, and you can get more followers and get more likes and get more people to tune in. And maybe if Danny Garcia or Dwayne The Rock Johnson made an appearance at Media Day, it would have been a zoo.
Do you like the bye week?
I like the bye week from a media standpoint. From a fan standpoint, they probably, it kind of kills the momentum a little bit. But I think from a standpoint for travel and plans and everything else, I mean, I think it gives DC the edge because Arlington, when they were hot, I mean, they may falter a little bit. You give Greg Williams 2 weeks to prepare for that defense. Watch out.
Anything else from you before I let you go? I appreciate it.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Reed. I'm looking forward to the game and breaking it down in Our Sports Central next week.
Yeah, tell people where they can find your work.
OurSportsCentral.com.
Probably one of our most regular guests on the show, Paul Reese, as well.
Yeah, Paul Reese, first class guy. A true professional. He's been doing this for years. And the thing is, he loves football. He loves football. That's why he wanted me involved. I covered arena football, and he liked my passion and the work I was doing, and he wanted me as a writer for Our Sports Central, and I jumped on that.
Perfect. Well, Fran, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'll get the mic back here. Thank you so much. And Fran, we're just on. We'll bring in Deontay here. Came a little early. We're going to shuffle people around. We have Matthew with the XFL Insider Podcast. Anthony, do you want to come on and ask some questions? We got Anthony coming on here. Take a seat here. Congratulations. We have. I'll give you. Yeah, you don't need that one. Yeah, we have all XFL defensive player. We have Deontay Anderson here with the XFL Vipers. Really appreciate it. The mic is on. How are you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Thank y'all for having me.
Why are you in San Antonio?
Oh, well, one of my good friends are playing. He plays quarterback for DC Defenders. And so I was already coming, Deer King. And I got family out here too. So I was going to come support and might as well just come do this, man.
What was the season like for you?
Well, personally, it was good. As a team, we wish could have finished better. Kind of frustrating some games, but I think we'll be really good, man. Yeah.
What was it like, with Coach Woodson and everyone else over there?
Yeah, Coach Woodson, a good dude. Everybody, we really had a good staff, good people, from equipment managers to athletic trainers, man. Really video people, man. It was great staff.
Obviously, disappointing at least in the records. What did you overall takeaways from the season?
Well, first of all, I love to win, but I think for next time we just work on finishing better. But other than that, man, it was really a fun experience. Despite things didn't come out how we wanted to, The record, I really feel like our record didn't, kind of relate with our team. But you are what your record is. But it was fun overall, though. It really was.
Anthony, you got a question for him?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, sorry. I did that really
It's such an awkward
sloppy when you sat
transition.
down. Yeah, you're good.
So, I guess let me ask: throughout this season, is there something in your game that you thought you developed or you got better with going to the XFL that you didn't maybe wasn't as good prior to coming to the league?
For me, mostly, I think slowing my mind down. I know in years past, I would try to just for example, you study your opponent, and then you kind of try to remember everything they do, which is impossible, really. And, my position coach, Coach Perry, was like, man, look, you're going to study all these things you want. At the end of the day, you still got to go out there and play football. All you got to do is remember 2 or 3 things. And he said that. I said, okay. And, it kind of slowed down for me. And, each game has got better. I think that was a big thing for me. Yeah.
We've heard a lot about, obviously ownership, executive team, right, with Danny and everybody else.
Yeah.
We've heard a million times the player 54 and all that,
Yeah.
But I've also heard it really resonates with you guys.
Yeah,
What do you make of how ownership has treated you guys through the season?
They treated us really well. I'm glad that they actually wanted to give us the opportunity again, for guys like us. Because, I was going around the league, man. It's a lot of good guys, that not in the NFL right now. And it was a really good league, really good talent. And they, I'm blessed and happy that they provided us this opportunity to, showcase our skills, man. And hopefully, at the end of the day, the end goal, get to the NFL. But even if that doesn't work out, it's just, I think I speak for a lot of players that were very happy. They decided to go through with it. Yeah.
You said you're here seeing your friend, Teamu here. Yeah. What did we expect? They kicked the snot out of the Sea Dragons.
Yeah.
I was there. I was at Audi Field. What are you looking forward to seeing from DC?
The same thing. I'm just here to support, man. I think DC will win. I honestly think they will win by a big margin. But this is a championship game, so things do happen. But that's my opinion. Yeah.
Anthony, you got another question?
Yeah. What's your pitch to the NFL on what makes you the guy that you don't become the 54th player anymore? You become that 53rd player.
I think I really showed, especially this year, my playing style, man, is fearless. I just love getting to the ball, man. I just love getting to the ball. I love hitting. I really do love hitting. I bring passion. I bring leadership. The thing about it, one thing my coach always say: if you get to the ball, good things always happen. So I always keep that in my mind. And so when the team wants me and they see that on that film, that's definitely what they see. I'm fearless.
Talk about the importance of having, whether it's the XFL or the other one. What do you having these alternative leagues for you guys?
Yeah, like I said, it's big, man. It's like I said, when I noticed this year, it's a lot of good talent that's not in the NFL. A lot of good talent, especially in this league. And so I just, hope that NFL sees that and actually give us, a very favorable opportunity, and things like that. Very, NFL kind of political a little bit, but it's a lot of good talent, man. I can't really stress that enough.
Seeing the players get the camp tryout, seeing everyone you move. What is that? You're all in this together. It's like you've been through a battle together.
Yeah.
What do you seeing all your everyone kind of trying to get to the next step here?
Yeah, it's just amazing. We had a few guys already did some workouts, things like that. So it's amazing. Everybody, they really want to get to the next level, and I think a lot of people show that, with the tape they put out in the XFL, things like that as well.
Anthony, you got another question?
Yeah. What was the experience like of being in the hub and everyone being in one place where you're kind of sharing it with other teams, where it's just not you guys, but now you could be developing relationship with other players with other teams?
Yeah. That took some getting used to. Kind of sharing hotels a little bit. Took some getting used to. But I think once we got used to it, it was pretty steady, pretty cool. I know Vegas, we've learned with the Seattle team, and I think we meshed pretty well, so we didn't really have no problems. But I'm pretty maybe other teams may have problems, but it took some getting used to. But everything else was pretty good though. Everything went smooth.
Getting on the plane on the way home, did that ever get any easier?
Yeah, man. It's not really a good feeling when you get on the same plane with the same team that you probably lost to. But that was everything was a good experience, man. I think it only gets better from here, honestly. Yeah.
coaching staff, like we talked a little bit before, but just how impressed were you as a player having all these guys around you and women that be able to learn from, grow from? I mean, we talked with Luis Perez, when he was still with the Vipers, talking about 200 whatever years of experience.
270 years of coaching experience we had at the Vegas Vipers, man. And I listened to every bit of it, every single bit of it. I took it to heart, and it's really it's really a blessing to have that around the game, man.
What did you make of when Luis got traded?
Man, so it was crazy because he had asked me, he was like, "Hey, bro, you might take me to the facility?" But I was busy, and I was like, I can't do it. I was like, man, why you want to go to the facility? Man, like a few hours later, he got traded. I guess he wasn't gonna talk. But I mean, you gotta do what's best for him. I think everybody kind of agrees with that. You gotta do what's best for you, man. If you feel like at that moment it was best to go to a different team, then kind of worked out here. Yeah.
How'd they roll out? How did you guys find out about the All-XFL honors and all that?
Actually, our media guy, Sage, he had texted me. He texted me like an hour before it came out. And that was actually one of my goals. And so actually when I seen that, and that kind of made me really happy. That's how I found out. Yeah.
Anthony, you got anything else?
Yeah. What are the next steps for you now? I guess when you're now preparing to get to the NFL, how do you go about preparing for it? What's the next steps for you?
Work out, man. Work out. Just take steps of faith with it. Things will open up. Everybody's timing different. Everybody's journey is different. How you get there, things like that. So my thing is, staying constant communication with my agent and just stay working, man. Anything can happen any moment.
Well, we appreciate your time. Anything else you want to say? You came by the show. I appreciate that, making the time. I guess predictions for the game.
Like I said, I got DC.
DC by a million?
I ain't gonna say by a million, but I think it's gonna be a big margin. I got DC though. I like their defensive scheme, and I gotta support my friends too. So that's why. Yeah.
Well, Deontay, congratulations on the All-XFL. I appreciate it, and have fun at the game.
Thank you, man.
Thanks so much. All right, let's see here. Matthew, do you want to hop on, or Kyle? Are you? I see you in the back. Are you cool sitting for a minute, or do you want to hop on now? You're cool sitting. All right, let's bring on Matthew. We got Matthew here from the XFL Insider Podcast coming on, and Anthony, you can hang out or get out of here. It's up to you. All right. First time I'm meeting this gentleman here, Matthew, over with the XFL Insider Pod. How are you doing, sir?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good. What have you made? How long have you been in town, and what's going on?
So we came in last night, got in about 12:30-ish, late, about a 9-hour drive my way. Beautiful city. Love San Antonio. Love the people so far. Curious to check out some more stuff after the game and tomorrow. But, hey, I'm focused on game time today. I'm ready.
What's it been like covering the season that you have?
Man, it has been an awesome experience. I came in as an amateur, brand new. I followed the XFL back in its first comeback. Hardcore Battlehawk fan back then. And I just wanted to pursue it more. Started following, making connections, networks, postings. I'd say most of what my success has come on social media. I post a lot of social media stuff. I've getting millions of hits on some of the things I posted. In terms of followings, it's not as big, but those postings and the videos I make, I mean, it's getting the word out for the XFL, and that's what I'm about. It's an opportunity just to make the XFL look good. So.
What's impressed you the most by DC here winding up in the North playoff?
Definitely the quarterback, Jordan Teamu. That's my guy. He was my guy for the Battlehawks back in 20. Look forward to watching him pull that win off today. I'm not trying to be too biased, but I am rooting for him, as well as Abram Smith. Great athletes. I'm looking forward to some numbers they're going to put up. Interesting enough, I found that their loss to Orlando was Jordan's best game. So I'm curious to see if he's pushed to even play better.
Anthony, we talked in Rick, Rick, who was on the show, and earlier this season, DC really built to go from the beginning there. What it's like we predicted at the beginning of the season, DC still here. I mean, was there any surprise just of how well that team was assembled?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I thought this was a good team. I didn't know how great this team was going to be. I think a lot of it is the development of the receiving core that came on with Chris Blair and, Lucky Jackson and Josh Hammond, like all those guys played really well for them. And then, with Jordan Te'amu, we weren't really sure what Jordan Te'amu would get. Are we going to get the one in 2020 with the Battlehawks who was protecting the ball well, or are we going to get the one from the USFL where he was throwing 12 interceptions with the Tampa Bay Bandits? So I think there were just some questions about it. We didn't know how De'Aaron King was going to be used. We knew Abram Smith was going to be a guy. So it was really just a matter of, how is the passing game going to be? And I mean, DC ended up having one of the best offenses in the league. So I think they silenced those questions pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you followed the USFL and with Te'amu there, really seemed to struggle. And I don't know if just the scheme didn't fit, but really has come into his own, not only, running when he needs to, but passing. I mean, it seems like his arm it only gotten better during the season.
Yeah, no doubt. And I want to note a lot of the offensive line play is making a big difference for him there. I've watched all season. That offensive line is really dependable. They've got some studs up front that give him time. And also that offense. I mean, it seems like they really gear a lot of things around him now at this point. Coming in, we saw a lot of different stuff from King, but we don't see too much that way now. I'm very confident in today's game, and me as personally, I'm looking forward to seeing him throw some passes.
I had the grade. I've asked everyone this, grade the XFL here 1 to 10. What have you made of the season, and what are you looking forward to seeing, hopefully improve for next year?
Personally, I'd say a 7. We definitely need to get some more marketing going. We got to get the word out more. I felt like a lot of this has been on the ground running. Guys like us have really been putting in the work, whether it be with each other or alone. Many networks and strings have to be pulled just to get in the place we're in. I want to say thanks to my network, Ambush Sports. They're the ones that got me in the position that I'm in for my podcast as well as the show. So thank them. But like I said, I'd say a 7. We got to get some marketing improvements. We got to get more word out, get the communities and the cities more involved, make things personal for people. I feel like that's what Vince did at first, and that's what got people going. And if we could get that again, you're really going to see an impact in each of these cities.
Yeah, Anthony, are you surprised? I mean, we've been talking here, walking around, like, even just having some signs up. I mean, I checked into the hotel, and don't know what's going on. I mean, I know we want to keep it shoestring this year, but I just feel like, I don't know. It just seems like it's lacking.
Yeah, I mean, I wish they would have done more for championship week. And I know this is something we talked about offline, but a lot of it is, the bye week. I think that it's kind of an awkward bye week where you have a lot of momentum, especially coming off the playoffs. Like you want to ride that momentum to the very end. So it's one of those things where I wish the bye week would move. Like my suggestion would be move the bye week to the first weekend of March Madness, so you're not competing with them directly because they're going to own the television screens all weekend. So that would probably be the good time to do the bye week. But I feel like the bye week kind of killed the momentum. Not as many events were going on. You had media day yesterday, which seems like to be a great experience, but you should do more during that week. Get the players, get the coaches, find a facility, have them practice in the location for the week, and then have them go out and interact with the communities and get people excited about going to the game. So yeah, I think more definitely needs to be done on that front.
Well, that was my thing. I mean, I want to get your thoughts on the bye week that, this isn't the Super Bowl. I mean, I get, we do the Super Bowl, we have this week. I mean, I understand it's a championship game, but I just didn't feel like it was utilized. Obviously, Sage with the Vipers getting Deontay on, right? We had Andy with the Guardians getting Coach Buck on, but, I reached out to all the teams, and I mean, trying to coordinate. Like, this is, I don't know if I'm the San Antonio, I don't know what the Brahmas are doing today. I think we could have facilitated, we announced the media day just a couple days before. My flight was already booked coming in, Friday. That what do you make of the bye, and how could they better utilize that?
Yeah, I mean, as Anthony said, we really got to get people involved, whether that be just going in and getting some advertising or actually getting some practices or something to show people. The momentum was lost, and it's sad, but we've tried to keep it up. And I see it personally just from the social media postings, how it's kind of just declined hardcore. Me personally, you should have had maybe some kind of event, some kind of show, some kind of conference, something to put on ESPN just to give people. This is our Super Bowl for the XFL, and I mean, we do treat it serious.
And like, I know they're doing the pivot stuff. Like, I know that came out. I don't know what that does at this point. I don't know. Like, is that, I want to get your thoughts. I mean, having the Rock on pivot and having Marquette King on the pivot the day before the championship game, like, is that enough to resonate?
I mean, personally, I didn't hear about that. So a lot of these things that I've heard about have been the day prior to the actual game time. I've received emails through media that were the day prior. I mean, and I would have loved to attend these events, and we just couldn't. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I like the interviews that Pivot did. I thought they did a great job. Like I talked about earlier about The Rock and being able to hear his personal stories of battling with depression and, just telling more of the story than he's already talked about Calgary and, coming back with only $7 in his pocket, but hearing the other side of it, talking about the depression he went through, trying to figure out his career, that part was cool. And it was good to hear the other stories about, because I do think, Shannon and Fred Taylor and Ryan Clark, they actually do a really good job with their interviews. So it's a very engaging. They get their guests to open up. So I do think it's a very good show. It's just, I think more could have been done to promote that, because because that is a pretty big podcast, but I don't know if people knew if they were necessarily going to be on. So I wish they would have done more to promote, like, hey, we're going to be on Pivot. Make sure you check out an exclusive interview with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That would have been cool to see.
Pip's here, and then we're going to bring back in Andy here in a minute. We're going to bring Kyle on. I rejuggled everything, but I appreciate everyone's flexibility. I just didn't want to keep Deontay kind of hanging around here at the thing. Pip's talking here. Tickets have really moved well the last few days. I was finally able to sell our extra tickets at a loss, but was able to sell them. What are you expecting for attendance today?
I would say we're going to be lucky to look at 25 to 30,000, just from judging what I've seen. Now, the XFL may win and gave some tickets out. That'd be my hope. The more people, the merrier. As you did, I gave some tickets out also. I've give tickets out to 2 games so far as well in Houston. So, I mean, I'd say 25 to 30,000 is what I'm looking forward to.
Matthew, anything else from you, where people can find your work, anything else before we let you go? I appreciate, like I said, your flexibility, kind of waiting around so we can get you on.
No problem. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate everything so far. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, any of the streaming networks our podcast is on. We finished episode 12 a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, it's been hanging out, through the bye week, just like everyone else. Find me, interact, send me a message. Love to hear more. Next season, we're going to try to be coming out with some video as well. We don't want to compete with you guys. We want to all work together and make this a good network. I think if we all come together and partner, we're going to have a good thing going next year.
Well, I appreciate it. The more serious we treat this, right, the more care we take in all this. That's the thing, and people are like, oh, why are you like poo-pooing on the XFL? It's like, because this needs to be real, right? Like the CFL, for whatever people want to, who cares? Like, they carry themselves like it's the most important thing in the world, right? Sure. You go to the Grey Cup and it's like a sacred, it's like a sacred thing. And so, we need that here. And, I get that we can get on ESPN and do that hit, but having people like, Anthony, right, for News Hub, and Andy, and you doing your podcast, like having the weekly stuff coming out, it makes it feel, USFL exists Saturday to Sunday, and that's it for the week. It doesn't exist outside of that. Sure. Any other thoughts from you? Either of you?
Hey, I'm good. I appreciate everything. Thank you, Reed, for having me on. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate everything, guys at home.
Appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to bring Kyle on here in a minute. We're going to get Andy back. We're going to do the big reset. Anthony's going to need his headset. We're going to get Andy on here. Let's give Anthony that mic as well. We're going to bring in, thank you for your patience. We got Kyle Nash, student of the game. Hopefully our internet's holding out. It keeps giving me warnings. Kyle, how are we doing here?
So far, so good, man. Hey, I know it was good from my perspective watching you guys rock your past couple guests there. I had no problem waiting, if that's the thing. By the way, glad to see you made it through the whole thing with the beer snake in D.C. when you were there with your Dragons, brother.
Did you track that? That was the most wild thing, to be forcibly evicted from the beer snake section. Getting the ticket, being relocated. I couldn't believe it.
Well, hey, you talk about people taking it seriously. I don't know how much more you can say that the defenders can take seriously the beer snake in all its glory, right?
Do you like the no beer snake today?
I don't. I'm not a fan. I'm not shocked by it, but let's be honest. I mean, at the end of the day, if you wanted a situation where you wanted it to not happen, have it at a more air quotes neutral site, which I know is a tall ask for the league just coming out. But yeah, no, you got to have the beer snake. I mean, am I going to tell you not to wear your stocking cap with your dragon on it? No, it's not appropriate.
Have we talked enough about that? What do you make of the no beer snake?
I think it's a mistake by the league that they're not going to allow it to happen. But I was going to ask you, Kyle, do over under 1.5 beer snakes are we going to see today at the game?
Oh, it's definitely an over. Yeah, I would have put it at 2.5 before we got. They're gonna retry after the first one stopped. I'm pretty sure of that.
Anthony, what do you? Maybe we have already. Maybe I have brain fog. Have we talked about the beer steak on here yet?
No, but I will say, like Andy said, I think it's a massive mistake. Like you had a bye week, so you had 2 weeks to prepare it if you needed the cups for it or whatever needed to be done to have the beer snake. So I think it was a miss by the league. It's kind of the identity of the league, and it's the way the league can connect with fans is having that beer snake. So especially when you have DC here, you got to be able to have it.
Anthony, even build on that. They totally got it right with at first it being pulled and then rebuilt. Great marketing stuff there. They nailed that. And then they come out and do this for the championship game. They earned the right to get their beer snake, and it's a good thing. It's a good piece of hype that's memorable, over and above and outside the game, which if you look at other championship games, the hype isn't just what's taking place on the field. You get that outside action in there too, whether it be halftime shows or whatever, all that. The beer snake is a perfect, non-expensive way to go ahead and add some of that hype in. And yeah, I'm with all you guys. It's a huge miss from my standing.
Well, and you get the the viralness of it and the social media of it. I mean, I am quite honestly tired of hearing the announcers talk about the beer snake, but it is something that they're able to talk about, right?
Yeah. I mean, for those of us who cover it, it's going to, there's going to be a little fatigue. But we talked about this before, I think, on social media too, Reed. Like if they were to come out with a set of cards for the XFL and do tributes to certain things that weren't players, like mascots or whatever, the beer snake would have its own XFL card. It would seem essential.
I'm gonna run to the facilities real quick here. How about Anthony or Andy? Do you want to carry on the conversation? I'm going to utilize this time before Jason and the crew comes. I have a feeling it's going to get wild. Do you want to carry on the convo?
Oh, with pleasure, sir. Okay, absolutely. Well, great to be taking over here. Kyle, thank you again for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Giving your time to us on this momentous occasion. So obviously I wanted to bounce off real quick before I launch into my next question, but yeah, I agree with you. There should be some sort of merchandise for the beer snake. I'm surprised there's not like replicas of it being sold yet, but it is a good point. It is an identity for the league. I was looking at a post by the Chicago Cubs the other day, or I think the MLB retweeted something from one of their games. They were that's and you're able to carry that over and kind of cross-reference it with other things in other leagues and other sports. So I absolutely agree with you. The fact that it's not being represented here, or potentially may not be represented, is a huge opportunity for the league.
Yeah, and just the organic nature of how it came to pass and all of it. I mean, if they're worried about lemons and all that, that's a whole other question. But yeah, you're nailing it here, Andy. The beer snake is definitely a piece, and it should be at the championship game. Like I said, they earned that right, fellas.
Well, I mean, make note, they didn't say anything about lemons, so we could see lemons tonight. So I don't know if that ends up being the replacement for it. But I mean, something they could have done was do a giveaway, like first 1,000 cups. Here you go, and you mark it as XFL Championship cups, and you add it as a mini beer snake or something like that. So yeah, it's like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, we'll let you know if we see any grapefruits out there or anything of that nature. Yeah, so beer snakes aside, what is something that you're really looking forward to the game tonight for this matchup?
I mean, you guys mentioned it with Jordan Tiamu. I want to see how big a game Lucky Johnson has, and taking nothing away from Arlington and the Renegades and what they're doing. And matter of fact, it's because that defense is so good to pull off what they have that I want to see how this goes. In order, in my mind, to have this big blow up, this I don't want to say lopsided, but there's a lot of people picking DC, and I get it, rightly so, right? The Renegades had an air quotes losing regular season record, got hot at the right time by finding Luis Perez. It's interesting when you talk to Donald Payne of the Renegades, and as a defensive player, as a linebacker, he says the biggest spark that got us through the Roughnecks in the playoffs and getting into all that was a quarterback in Luis Perez. So a defensive guy is saying that, but I digress. The part I get to with that group there, we all know about Abram Smith, Jordan Tiamu, pulling the Offensive Player of the Year award out of the hands of Ben DiNucci and doing all of that is impressive in itself, but you got to have that balance on offense if you want to move the ball on this Renegades defense, and I think Lucky Johnson's a big part of that.
We had a question here. I assume St. Louis is getting the championship game next year. Where would you like to see the championship game, Kyle?
I mean, St. Louis would not be a bad location at all. That would be. I mean, selfishly, if it was in Orlando, I would obviously cover it too. But for me, I think St. Louis might be the best choice outside of Texas. Right? It's relatively centrally located. The hype there is great. I feel like even if the Hawks don't make it, the Cacao Nation and whoever else would still show up in droves and fill those stands, but I don't think they were prepared for St. Louis to react the way they did. And listen, good on the Battlehawk fans and Cacao Nation and all that for pulling out those, high 30s, near 40,000 numbers, man. Those were amazing for the league.
Anthony, what do you make about that? I'm trying to make sure that Jason's not trying to message me coming on the show.
Yeah, so I mean I agree with Kyle. I think St. Louis would be the best place to do it, and I mean even today I've actually seen quite a few St. Louis Battlehawks gear being out here. So I think putting them in that I don't think it really matters at the end of the day, where the location or if St. Louis is going to play in the championship game or not, they're going to get fans to come out to that.
100%.
Yeah, it looks like the internet here is a little wonky. Anthony, I keep doing that. Andy, where would you like to see the championship game?
I should change my name at this point. So, but for the championship game, I mean, God, there's so many options, right? St. Louis would have been awesome. Obviously, you would get fans, you would get people showing up for that game anyways. If they had a home game for the St. Louis, I mean, that would have been tremendous. It wasn't going to happen for San Antonio this year, unfortunately. DC, I like DC. The problem is it's just not big enough. I think they would want to have more seats for that kind of occasion. I don't know if you could have a different stadium, a different contracted venue. Probably not. Choctaw, I don't think is really sufficient enough, in my opinion. It's probably something that needs to be reconsidered going forward. But that's the thing. It's hard to say. Like your two ideal locations are the domes, the St. Louis and in San Antonio. So it's hard to say right now, unless they get an expansion team sometime down the road and they're able to find a better venue. I don't really see any other options that they have currently.
Kyle, what's your experience been like covering the league so far this year?
Yeah, listen, being at the Guardians games, even with a team that's struggling, you see those loyal diehards there on a regular basis. And it was really fun to see the fans respond when they did pull it out against the now North champion DC Defenders for the only loss on the year for them. And just the excitement for the fans that are there is amazing. The numbers did kind of dip as the season went on, just because the wins weren't being put on the board, and rightly so. I get that, but I heard some talk earlier on the show here with you guys about that local outreach concept, and as they get away from that centralized model, the XFL will be in a better position than to do more of that local community outreach. I did see them try a few things here in Orlando with the Guardians would land in town on Saturday, and they'll visit, hospitals and stuff and things around, kind of do their community service, and then also, do what they can to be communities of their own team, even though they are spending so much time there in Texas during the week. So I think we'll see more of that outreach kind of happen as things sort of migrate away to everybody being in their own home city on a more regular basis. And that would also prevent any issues such as what happened with Quentin Normandy, but I digress.
What did you make of that?
I really think it was just all a misunderstanding because of nobody really being in that situation before. To hear Quentin talk about it, to hear kind of the scuttlebutt around it from, what I heard from stuff around the facility and things like that. It was all just kind of stuff that was that just morphed on its own. It looked wrong. Nobody thought it could really put a finger on what exactly happened. Obviously they weren't speaking too much about it, but from my personal experience just playing semi-pro ball, I can't imagine riding on the bus home with the team that done beat me. So there's all sorts of stuff that went on there that I feel like people weren't used to that environment. So something that they saw that was out of whack it was just processed the wrong way. But I'm still amazed how afterward Darmondy and the team embraced each other, and he came out and performed. And he's one of the guys that's now getting looked at at an NFL camp with the Broncos. So, I mean, it's funny. What a statement for the XFL guys, really quick. The team with the worst record in the league has somebody from every offensive skill position going to an NFL camp in some fashion. That is amazing to me. I won't comment on the offensive line's lack of appearance there, but having a skill position in every part of an offense by the team that's in the lowest in the standings, that means the lowest on the chain is still getting to the next level and getting looks. That's interesting.
Yeah, Andy, what do you make of that? Then we'll get Anthony.
That's what I've been saying all year. I totally agree with you, Kyle. Like, even though the team did not perform well and had a lot of trials and tribulations that didn't go their way, they still have talent. And they have an immense amount of talent, especially at the offensive skill positions, like you said. You know, Cody Latimer, awesome. Charleston Rambo, very highly skilled. Even their quarterbacks, I would have loved to have seen Dormady play more. You know, he had some exceptional games, one being against DC, another one in Vegas. He obviously had his downturn as well, but still, like, there was talent on that team. It's just they were lacking in certain departments. You know, offensive line obviously wasn't good. Their defense just couldn't create turnovers, but like the individual skill positions were there. And that's the case for every team in this league. Every team has talent. Every team has skill players. Every team has good coaches. Like this, even if the results weren't there, there was still a lot of potential in what could have been done. I really felt like there was parity in this league. I truly felt that way. I don't really feel that way about 8-team leagues or smaller leagues, where sometimes there's such a disparity between these talent gaps or coaching staffs. But I really did not feel that way too much in this league, and that is a testament to the Orlando staff to be able to get the most out of their players.
I thought you were talking about the New Orleans Breakers.
Well, we can talk about them later. That's another team, obviously, that's done a fantastic job. But yeah.
Yeah, no. So Anthony, and then we'll get Kyle. The parity, right? Parity. We've talked about. We're seeing huge gap last year in the USFL. Seems like it's going to be also quite a large gap this year. What do you make of the XFL having as much parity as it did between all 8 teams?
I think that speaks to the quality of the play on the field and the job that the front offices did in bringing in the right players to the right systems. I think that's something that sometimes these leagues kind of struggle with is, you know, finding the right guys and being able to have everyone be competitive, because it really did feel like yes, Vegas was not good, Orlando was not good, but they were in a lot of games. Like Vegas could have easily been, 5-5, 6-4. Orlando could have won, 2 or 3 more games. So I think that really speaks to what the front offices did. And that's really the strength of this league, is being able to find talent. Like you look at someone like Ja'Cour Pearson, is somebody that not a big name, but because of the work he did with destroying and, all the videos that he had for it, that got him into the league. And he ended up being one of the premier receivers in the league. So it's guys like that really make, the parity such a big thing in the league, where everyone is going to be able to compete. Obviously, you're going to have really good teams. You're still going to have really bad teams. But as long as the bad teams are being competitive, then it makes for a really good product on the field.
Hey, Kyle, what do you make of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, let me add to that too. You mentioned Pearson, Anthony. Hey, listen, this is a guy who's across from a dude that was leading the NFL in receiving yards before his whole situation took place, and he's still dominated. So definitely mentioning Pearson as a story is a must. And parity for any league, you need some element of success in, right? For the major sports out there, the problems they have with lesser teams is, well, I think what bails out lesser teams is revenue sharing, right? And this isn't just for major leagues. I would argue the same thing is true of college football conferences as well, as some way. Vanderbilt stays alive because the SEC is what it is. But that parity is important because it keeps the fans coming in, and that's what drives that attention. Everybody at the beginning of any year in any league needs to believe they at least have an outside shot. This is what happens. For example, if you're an Orlando Guardian fan, sure, you only won one game last year, but hey, like we just said about guys getting shots in the NFL all over the roster, except for certain key places, and hearing Coach Buck say himself that if he had only stuck to his own guns and not listened to everybody and trusted his instincts drafting his players, he might have had a better roster. And goodness knows, with all the changes that Orlando did make, we saw that upward step in real time in a field goal game with the Arlington Renegades, aka the South Division Championships. could have gone just a field goal opportunity, which they didn't get in either game, whether it be because of a close call or just an excellent defensive effort by the Renegades in their sacking Quentin Darmody on the play before, right? You get those situations where that one play decided the outcome, and we're looking not only at a different record for the Guardians, we're looking at a different pair of teams in the South, in the XFL Championship, not just the South Championship, right?
Andy, are you surprised with that? When I had Buckley on a couple weeks ago too, and just you got to give more help to these first year coaches when they're league building, or like how do you we want to bring in, we want to get new people involved, right? Give people an opportunity, but then how do you fix that?
Giving them a good support staff, good assistant coaches, and also just maybe more correspondence from the league. If you're going to be a league of opportunity, you also need to be able to present those opportunities and support those opportunities. You can't just expect people to kind of like figure it out on their own. Now, you have other individuals like Hines Ward, for example, another coach that wasn't able to really be successful this season as much as he wanted to, but he was kind of figuring it out as he went along. Same with Rod Woodson. I mean, the only guy that really was a superstar in that aspect was Anthony Becht, obviously. Anthony Becht was fantastic from day one, from the jump, but he seemed to already have a program and idea in mind. Not all coaches have that. And so you have to be able to find a way to support that. I don't know exactly how you go about that. Again, maybe just bringing in different personnel or be able to have more correspondence with the league. But I absolutely agree, because a guy like Buckley is smart. He knows ball. He knows a lot. He is very passionate about this and is dedicated to this. I mean, he's already, you heard him earlier in the program. He can't wait to get back out there and start coaching again. So yeah, you absolutely need to be able to find a way to foster that.
Anthony, same question for you.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at guys, like Anthony Becht has had coaching experience in the past. So, Andy, like you said, I think just having that program already set in place on how he wants to do it. I mean, he was a guy that was chasing the XFL for years, because he wanted an opportunity to be a head coach, because I think he knew exactly what he needed to do to be successful, and having that plan in place, I think, helped him out to be successful. I think guys like, Hines Ward and Rod Woodson, who have not been coaches as much, that was a new learning curve for them, and getting into the flow of what it takes to be not only a head coach and coaching these players how to play football, but also being a leader. That's also there's two elements to it. Anthony Becht was a great leader. That's why his team was successful. And I'm not knocking on Hines Ward and Rod Woodson. It's just there's a learning curve to being a leader. It's more than just being a head coach and telling guys what to do on football assignments. You have to be able to lead them and motivate them and push them onto the right pathway. So I think that's kind of where the gap is.
We have Dirty standing by here, our next guest. They were all going to come down here, and I guess they're stuck at the tailgate, but that'll be good because we'll get a live look in at the tailgate. But Kyle, before we let you go, and Dirty, I see you, they're still adjusting their camera. I had a question here from Garrick. Let's not forget about coaches that might be getting some looks too. What coaches would you see? And it's weird because like the head coaches are locked in, but obviously if someone called, I'm sure that they'd let Hines go or do whatever. But what coaches do you see getting looks from this league?
And I like that Garrick asked that question. I was going to go here. This is the talk about League of Opportunity. As much as we talk about the players, this is it for court coaches too, right? And being able to, I'll just say one too, that I got to watch a person here in Orlando, seeing Shane Matthews turn around this offense the way that he did in Orlando. I mean, you got to give him some consideration for that. Taking guys like the Jordan Thomases, right? The Katie Cannons, who weren't in the building necessarily, a week and a half ago. Sure, they had XFL experience with another team, but they come in within 10 days, they're catching touchdowns. Jordan Thomas's case, he went on to get an opportunity in the NFL, in one of the camps here upcoming. So that's always something you want to see there. And when you see a coach turn things around that quickly, like I said, we watched the Guardians improve in real time. Even Coach Barlow, after the loss, had said he was worried about the Guardians and their ascent. He just wished it wasn't against them. You see a coach showing real ascent like that. I think that's the kind of guys you want to look at that can turn things around, because if you're looking for a new coach and you're trying to tap talent at this level, and you're in the NFL ranks, let's say, for example, you're going to be looking probably to turn around your franchise. And if you see somebody with that experience firsthand, that's going to be a good target for you. I also like to kind of follow with that too, how they've kept Coach Buck in, and all these other head coaches are still locked in doing their thing. With that all still happening, they know what they need to fix now, and they're given an opportunity to do it. I think that's ultimately a net positive for all the coaches.
Last question for you, and then I think Dirty's ready to go. This could be a catastrophe here when we get to this next shot. I've seen them prepping in the thing. Dirty, I'm coming to you in a second. Over under 1.5 coaches hired from the XFL by the end of this next season.
I'm going to say over, because I think it'll be 2.
There you go. Kyle, appreciate your time. Good luck. Thanks for sticking around and working with the flexibility coming on. Really appreciate it. And I'll be on Kyle's show next week here. I think we're recording on Monday, if I remember right.
That's absolutely right, man. Hey, looking forward to that. Great job putting together this production, man. You're managing live guests, me remote. You got Dirty off doing whatever he's doing somewhere at the tailgate. Listen, an absolute circus, and you're a heck of a ringmaster. The difference is you have a different hat because you'll have your Seattle D on there. It'll be all good.
It'll be good. Kyle, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Honor, joy, and privilege, guys. But until next time, class dismissed.
Kyle's great. Love Kyle. All right. And we're going to bring now this could be a disaster here.
I can't wait.
Preview.
I can't wait.
I've seen the preview. We got Dirty here.
What's up, buddy?
Now we're going to keep this PG. I know you get a little more vulgar on your show.
Yeah. No, you're good, bro. We're good. Look, Reed, I got stuck at the tailgate. Look at them all, Reed. It's a sea humanity here.
I see the mayor there. I see.
We got the mayor. Look, you ready? We got the mayor right here. Look at that. We got the Los Bandits right there. We got the Predators there. We got Battlehawk fans back there. B-Hawk 1. Reed, you're missing a really good time, Reed. Really, you are.
That's
I love
good.
you, buddy.
I'm going to be heading over there soon.
All right. Hold on. Reed's asking a question. All right, Reed, what's up, buddy?
Let's go. We're here. I've been fighting internet connections all day. It's hard enough doing it at the hotel here, let alone trying to do it out of the tailgate. We're still having that. Dirty, how you guys did the podcast last night? What have you made of your time in San Antonio? And just are you feeling the vibe?
You want to see? This is what San Antonio is all about right here. This is what the XFL is all about right here. It's just about the camaraderie of all of these fans. I mean, we got Battlehawk fans, we got DC fans, we got Houston fans, Sea Dragon fans. It's just crazy. It's just unbelievable that we've actually got to complete a season. Oh yeah, we got Orlando. It's unbelievable. San Antonio's been great. The city's been great. The hospitality has been phenomenal, and the food's great. Reed, you really should come down for the food.
Do you guys have any questions for Dirty?
I guess my only question is, have you seen any other fans from what am I forgetting? Oh, you said Orlando, right? There's an Orlando fan.
Orlando, we got Orlando here. We got every single city represented right here in this tailgate right now as we speak.
How upset are you that St. Louis isn't hosting the title game?
I'm not. They don't deserve it. It's a perfect city to do it in San Antonio. Look, I love St. Louis, right? But the dome's not very nice right now, so we need to upgrade it. I'm having a feeling next year it will be upgraded, so we'll be there next year. So I'm not really upset. I get why they did it this year, logistics, money-wise. I get why they did here in San Antonio. It makes sense.
Dirty, what are you looking forward to from a football perspective tonight?
Here's what I want, okay? I want a competitive game, right? And we're all talking about how the Renegades were 4-6, right? And made the playoffs, right? But you put Luis Perez on that team a lot earlier, that team could be the best in the South, right? I just want a competitive game. I want it to go good. And since I got to be kind of objective, I got a man crush on Jordan, so I'm going to go DC. That's who I want to win.
Anthony, you got anything?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the game right now. I want to ask about the tailgate. Is there? I've been hearing about the Brahma beers. Have there been any Brahma beer sightings at this tailgate?
Yes, you want some? Hey, where's my Brahma beer at? Where's the Brahma beer?
I'm sorry. I had to ask, Reed. I had to ask.
That's okay.
There's the Brahma beer right there. Sorry, Reed. There's the Brahma beer. Yeah, it's all over this place. It's crazy. These people are nuts for Brahma beer.
Can I get the crowd's reaction to the fact that the beer snake isn't going to be allowed tonight?
Guys, who's upset that the beer snake's not going to be here? Nobody. Yeah, they don't care. See, they just don't care. They all just said screw it.
I thought it was going to be outrage.
Well, no, they don't care. I think it's a DC thing, and I don't think they like it here in San Antonio.
Any other thoughts, observations from the weekend here?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a great weekend. It's been a fun time. San Antonio is a great city. I've been here before for the first Battlehawks game against San Antonio, and it's actually my favorite place to come to for an XFL game. The atmosphere is just unbelievable, and the fans are great. Very nice. I've been getting fed and drinking water all night long, so because I can't drink today.
Well, Dirty, I appreciate it. We'll let you go. You guys have fun here, and we'll bring on our last guest here in a second. Thanks so much.
All right, Reed. Thanks, brother.
Thanks. Well, there we go. We survived that. I was a little worried. I didn't know.
That's quite a party they got over there.
We're waiting for Greg to hop on. Greg Parks will be hopping on in a minute. XFL board. Thoughts so far? How the show's been? Kind of post recap while we wait for our last guest.
Oh, I'm really hyped up now after that. But it's been eclectic. Honestly, all the guests have been great. All the wealth of knowledge that we've had. All the people from different walks of life and different parts of this league really just shows you how diverse this community is. And that's something I take away from this whole experience. And the fact that you have been able to assemble all of these people really is a testament to what you've done here.
Yeah, major credit to you, Reed, for putting this all together.
Have we done okay today? It feels like it's been a little chaotic.
Like it could have been chaos, but it's been very organized. I will say, Deontay, I loved his interview. I loved hearing from him and talking about his experience in the XFL. That was kind of, if I had to pick a favorite interview, that's probably my favorite one. And hearing from his perspective, he was very open and talking about his experience. I love that part.
I will say, they've been talking thunderstorms all day. It does seem like we're getting a little more cloud cover. Obviously, the game's inside. Don't have to worry about that. But, they were predicting major flooding and everything else. Do you think that inhibited people from coming out and hanging out before the game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that probably has an effect on it. I mean, you probably saw from whenever there were rainy games in Seattle that kind of affected attendance numbers. But I think if fans are able to see right now that there is no rain beforehand, they may be more likely to go out to the tailgates now, because I'll be surprised. That tailgate atmosphere, that was awesome to see how many people came out for that.
It was cool. I like getting to check in on that. Like I said, Dirty was going to come here, stuck over there. We have our last guest here. I vamped long enough. He was with us for the XFL kickoff. Now we have him back here for the XFL Championship. Greg Parks, how are you doing?
I got to be honest with you. I'm a little jealous of you guys. I see everybody posting on social media, being down in San Antonio for the championship game. And, maybe one day I'll get to the championship location, but it just couldn't make it work this year. So I hope you guys are having fun, and I hope it's a entertaining time and a good game for you guys for being there live.
Greg he didn't know we had to see work around. He had a kid's birthday party today. Wasn't sure if he was going to make it. I said, I don't know if you can see, it was
Super Mario themed. So I've got my Bowser tattoo on my hand as proof. So if I have there might be some cake left over on my face or something like that. That's just from the birthday party.
Well, no, I said, kids have a birthday every year. In the XFL, we might not have a championship for another 22 years. We don't really know.
That was both the funniest and the saddest thing I've ever read. So I did get a chuckle out of that read.
I'm going to ask this to everyone. We'll start with Greg. We've made it. Have we made it? Like we've ascended the mountain here, or did we just make it to the championship game?
A little of both. You don't want to get too ahead of yourself in proclaiming, okay, now that we've made it here, put down your season ticket deposits for the next 5 years. I don't think anyone's ready to do that yet. We have seen Danny Garcia and Dwayne Johnson do a lot of media leading up to this game. And, they've been, from what I can tell, it looks like they've been pretty honest. They're very happy about some things, and there's some things that they can work on. And so I think that acknowledgement of things that they can work on and getting started soon. I know in a couple of articles they said they're going on a management retreat here coming up soon. So, that's the place to really develop ideas and kind of bounce ideas off of each other and really look at the data from 2023 and sort of use that as your guide in how you want to approach 2024.
Do you like the honesty of that? Do you like, USFL is a little bit more like this is the best. Don't talk to us. We're Fox. What do you make of the honesty?
It's important, and humility is something that you need to have if you're going to be able to continue doing what you're doing. Look, I like confidence. I do. but I also like to know that you are realistic in your expectations and what you accomplished during the season. And clearly that is the case from Chairwoman Danny Garcia, from The Rock, from Russ Brandon, all of them. I think they know Rome's not built in a day, and this is going to take some time to really construct and put together. Now, that being said, I think there is optimism for next year. Obviously, there's already potential. There are some teams that have already started to put out the links for deposits on season tickets next year. But I sort of agree with Greg in that, let's not just draw the cart before the horse and just be like, all right, next 10 years, this is my team. This is my identity. These teams may move around. There might be expansion teams. There might be, different venues. There might be color changes, uniform changes, logo changes, name changes, all kinds of things like that. So we're not out of the woods, even just in that regard too. But there's a lot can change, a lot can morph because this is so new. It's a petri dish, and I think it's easy to want to just say, well, this is where we are, and this is it. This is definitely not it, and I don't think that's how the league sees it either. They know there's so much more. There's so much more to be had, and so much more growth and evolution to go with this.
Anthony, same question.
Yeah, let's crack open the champagne bottle after we get to our second XFL championship game. Then we can be like, okay, now we're in the flow of it. Now we can get it rocking and rolling. And look, I love the honesty from Danny and The Rock. I mean, I think as us, journalists and for the fans out there, we know that things are not perfect. Like, we can talk about Cashman Field all day. We can talk about the marketing. We can talk about attendance all day. But, for them to also recognize that too, that's a big thing. You don't want to have that huge ego and be like, oh, we're perfect, we don't have to fix anything. Obviously there's stuff they need to fix, and they've acknowledged that, and that's all you want to see. You want to see that human element out of them. And I really hope that's something that they can, if they do the Player 54 documentary next year, let's talk about that part. That would be something I would love to see in the first episode, is the off season, and them being transparent about, okay, we didn't do this, we didn't do that, and we didn't do that correctly, but this is what we're doing during the retreats to be able to work through those issues and be able to set ourselves up for more success in the future. So that'd be something I would like to see out of the league, because they have been pretty transparent so far, but I want them to go to the next level in terms of how they're handling the off season. So I love that about the league, and I hope they continue to do that.
Greg, I had a dream. I think it was 2 nights ago. I spent a day with The Rock. It was actually pretty delightful. We were just hanging out in Seattle. I think we went over to the View. I didn't catch all of The Rock's stuff with the pivot this week, but I did hear the sound where he was talking about, I never really just sit and talk with my boys and kind of like, vamp and all his interviews are so like staged and forced. Like it did make me think like, that's gotta be a weird life for The Rock. Like, you're always living in this, everything is so perfectly tailored. You don't get a lot of vulnerability. So it's always been jarring to me when The Rock is a little bit more honest about where they want the XFL to go, because you're just not used to that from him.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, he's conquered 2 industries. He was, for a short time, the best professional wrestler and probably the most popular. And then he goes on to film and just dominates that and becomes, for a time, the highest paid actor in Hollywood. So there have not, he had some rough patches growing up for sure. And he tells that story often. And, getting to college and playing college football and thinking that was going to be his big ticket, and then realizing after he got injured in the CFL that wasn't going to work out. But, to dominate 2 industries the way he has in his adulthood, and then come to the XFL and try to work your magic on that. I think the acknowledgement that he's made that it really is a long game. They're not in it to pop a big rating in the first week and then kind of sit on their hands and say, all right, we've done all the hard work. I think he understands that there's still a lot of hard work left to do. And that's, for someone who's been in his position, that does take a lot of humility. And you do have to set your ego aside, because this could have been a very public failure, the likes of which he's not really encountered. You mentioned his life. He's very careful. If you've ever seen interviews and things like that, he's very careful not to criticize anyone, not to step on anyone's toes. It's a very sanitized version of The Rock that we often see in public. So for him to kind of show this vulnerability with the XFL and to go on social media and say, hey, we're building this one brick at a time. The ratings aren't super great, but we're building it. We're slowly moving in the right direction. You know, that sort of thing has to be hard for someone who has just been so successful in his adult life as he's been.
Truth be told, I was always more of a Stone Cold guy than a Rock guy.
Well,
I mean,
it was definitely one or the other. There were two very distinct camps, so I don't blame you.
Yeah. It'll get everyone's thoughts on this. Doing this brick by brick stuff, every week, like Mike posts the attendance and everyone goes crazy. And the USFL, that's like, do you think that I don't think they care at all. I think that they are like, we've got a plan here. I don't know. What do you make of that? And what do you think that they think of where they're at or where they think they should be?
I think they just don't overreact. I don't think they are going to allow results such as attendance color their entire perception of where they are and where they're going to be. I think they look at it, and I'm sure, obviously, they want higher numbers because you're always going to compare it to the old league, right? The 2020 league. That's just that was inevitable. That was going to happen. And of course, I don't think they want to dwell too much on that because that was a different ownership group. That was a different set of circumstances. Is different. There's just, it was a different time in everyone's lives before COVID. So for this case, I don't think they're going to really react too much to those sorts of things. And I don't know if it's not they don't care. I just don't think they take as much stock in it as maybe someone like we do in observing it because they have, I guess, bigger fish to fry, I suppose. But they also just try to be realistic in like what they can address at certain times and other times that they have to maybe put things down and kick things down the road and try to address other issues.
Yeah, because it really is like we're on this right now. Like we can't do anything like we can flex games a little bit, we can move it to ESPN too, but like we can't. Yeah, the book's already going right now. We can't stop the horse. Same question to you.
Yeah, I mean, you can't overreact. I think for the ownership group, they can't overreact to what's going on. So if they see that attendance numbers are going down or ratings are going down, they can't be like, oh, okay, let's just pull the plug. This thing is over. Like they can't react that way because they are playing for the long haul. That is something they've talked about multiple times. Like we're not, this is not a short-term thing. This is we're in for the long haul. We know things are not going to be perfect. We're going to fix it as we go. So that's something that the ownership group has understood from the moment that they paid $15 million for this league, is that we have to be in for the long haul. That's why they didn't play in 2022, because they were like, we're not ready to go. We need to get this right, and we need to take our time with it. So they're going to take that approach with every single season. I mean, they didn't spend a lot of money on marketing because they know, like, we want to try to build this thing organically, and then we could start putting money into marketing to try to get more eyes on the product. So at the end of the day, like, this is going to be a 3 to 5 year project. And, after 3 to 5 years, we'll figure out if this is going to be the real deal or not.
Greg, are you, we've seen now with the USFL and obviously the lawsuit, now they're showing old clips and they're talking Herschel Walker and all that. Now that we've made it through the whole season, are you surprised that like we don't acknowledge 01 at all? Like, and then even just in the slightest terms acknowledge 2020?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that they don't acknowledge 2001 because that really was a long time ago, and it was a very different league, right? And we have seen, XFL.com did an interview with Jonathan Heimbach, who is the offensive line coach for the Arlington Renegades, who was a member of the Los Angeles Extreme Championship team. We've seen ESPN do some pieces on Tom Luganbill, who was the quarterbacks coach for the Extreme, and who's now announcing XFL games on ESPN. So they're kind of dipping their toe into the water a little bit, but I'm not really sure what from XFL 2001 is relevant to acknowledge in this day and age. I think once you get to the championship game, and it truly is the first XFL championship since 2001, I think that's where it feels more relevant to acknowledge, and I think they've done that. The comparison to 2020 is interesting because, you were talking about the attendance and how it's down from 2020, but really, I don't even know if this ownership group even compares those numbers. Like they seem to be so checked out of what happened in 2020, and they're forging their own path. So I really think they don't like the comparisons to 2020, partially because they weren't in control then. So they don't probably think it's very fair. Not only, as Andy said, it was a different world back then, but also like to the ownership, even though they're reusing the name and reusing a lot of the teams, it really is a from the ground up experience. So I don't think that they even feel like there's as much crossover as we feel like there is from 2020.
Same question.
Yeah. Again, I think it is the case that there's not really a lot of crossover there. I agree with Greg, and like it's hard for any business. Not even just the football, but I think any business to really compare a lot of things from 3 years ago versus now. I mean, the world has changed. Things have moved on. There's just not, and also, in terms of like, obviously with the numbers as far as viewership goes, I mean, now you have a competing league. Fox and ABC were in tandem, and ESPN were all in tandem last time, and this time that's not the case. You have real competition. I mean, there's USFL games going on literally right at this moment, and they're crossfiring with each other, and it's creating a giant rift and sort of splintering attention that was not something we had to worry about. All we worried about 3 years ago was, can we have a league? And now we have 2 leagues. So yeah, circumstances have changed drastically. And now it's more of just, I suppose, with Danny and The Rock, are they going to be? The other thing is, how much are they focusing on each other too? Like, are they trying to, shoot across the bow and, make it known about what they can and can't do? Or are they just sort of ignoring all of it? That's like, what's their attitude towards the USFL as well? That's another thing to consider.
Anthony, to you, and then we'll get Greg, and then we'll get out of here at the hour 2 mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're Danny and Dwayne and Jerry and Redbird, I think you have to go into this with a clear mind and just forget about everything that happened in the past. I don't think they're doing it on purpose. I just think you have to have that type of mindset, especially if you're starting a new business like this, where you need to set your own expectations, set your own standards. Like, Andy's talked about this. This was a different world 3 years ago, and Vince McMahon was running things differently from how this group is doing it. So I think you just they have to set their own standards. They know what kind of budget they're going to have for the league. They know how much money they're going to spend. They know, what kind of strategies they're doing. So, like, for example, for Vegas, they knew they were going to have low attendance. They were shooting for 8,000 a game, and they only got 6,000. So they're going to go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, we didn't hit the expectations. How do we hit those standards next season? And they're going to go back to the drawing board. But I understand why they don't want to compare it to 2020, and I'm sure the USFL doesn't want to be compared to the 2020 XFL also. So I think when you go into a new business, you forget about everything, set your standards, and then every year you keep elevating it from there.
Greg, anything else from you? I appreciate all season and everything through the whole way through. Any other thoughts from you about either the game or the season as a whole?
I'm looking forward to the game. I think it'll be very interesting. I don't know how much you guys have talked about the game on the last hour and a half or so versus just kind of like XFL as a whole, but I'm hoping for a good game. Obviously, it's going to become a big story if it's a blowout or something like that, and because they're going to have probably I would say the most eyes on them tonight than they've had all year, probably even beating the first game. So the advertising, I think we can rightly criticize the advertising throughout the year and leading up to the season. But I think ESPN and the XFL have done a fantastic job of, in the last 2 weeks, really pushing this game hard on social media, on television outlets and things like that. So I'm really hoping they get a good rating this week. And it's, the off season is going to be very interesting because we've not had an off season like this before, if we've ever covered the XFL, because it's been one and done. So an actual off season going into a second season is going to be kind of crazy. And I don't know if you can see on my computer back here, I was in the middle of working. I'm compiling all the rookie minicamp players and teams. So I'm making a big list. So, when XFL teams start compiling their players, I can go back to this. So the grind never stops for us covering the league, even heading into the off season. There's so much to grind on and things like that. So I'm really excited to see where the off season takes us, what next year looks like, what the off season looks like, what player movement looks like, what the draft looks like, and things like that. That's kind of my area of interest, I think, more than anything else in the XFL. So yeah, certainly we got a game tonight, and I hope it's a good one, but after that is really going to be where it really gets interesting, I think.
Yeah, the work will start. I'm excited. Like I said, I think the ball's been rolling down the hill. Okay, let's get done. let's stop, let's reevaluate. Greg, thanks so much for the XFL board, all the work over there and all your postseason. I've been trying to retweet as many as I can, all your postseason recaps of all the teams and everything else. So thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, and have fun tonight, guys.
It should be fun. We'll get over there soon here. Well, we did it. How'd we do?
As well as you could expect. It did get rained on. It didn't rain once the entire time, which it was such a 50-50 proposition. But no, I just wanted to say this was fantastic. The work done by you and everyone here. Greg, I didn't get mentioned before he signed off, but I'm excited not only for the fans and for the players and for the coaches and for the league. I'm excited for us because we put in so much work into this, and this is really, this is our Super Bowl in a lot of ways, and it's something that is such a culmination of so much hard work and determination, just waiting and grinding, so much time spent on this, pontificating on getting to this point. And again, I'm just really excited for all of us, and I can't wait for tonight.
Anthony, anything else from you?
Yeah, I mean, tonight's about the celebration of a season being completed. It's something that we haven't seen in 22 years from the XFL, and it's similar to the USFL and how they celebrated completing their first season last year. I think this needs to be a celebration of all the work we've been doing as journalists, but for the fans and for the players and the coaches and the league in general. So I hope tonight, regardless of what the score is, regardless of what happens, we can all sit back and celebrate, getting through this first season and look forward to season 2.
Well, thanks everyone for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you're subscribed on here. Appreciate it, everyone, you guys, everyone waiting. And, we do our best. I've been watching the internet dip back and forth the whole time here. So I think we got through it as best as we can. I appreciate you guys sitting here the whole time. I appreciate everyone watching. I already have one guest interview already recorded for the show on Friday. It should be good. And then we need to figure out a Monday recap. So I don't know, Andy, if you're back around, maybe we'll hop back on the horse for the post-Monday recap.
Oh, absolutely love to. Back in my regular chair.
We'll get Andy back on that. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon. We're going to go head. How do I get out of here? We're going to go head to the media and do all the other stuff for the game. Everyone, bye. Thanks. Okay, bye, guys. And thanks as always. Take care.